Hi, this is Michael Kinnett with Iternal Networks. This is our third weekly how-to video from our 6 simple tips to improve your cybersecurity video that you may have watched a couple of weeks ago. Today we're going to be talking about passwords and how to make sure that you're using strong and secure passwords. I wanted to point out to you first, every year companies publish the top known passwords for the year. And 2020's list of passwords is just as you'd expect, not very secure. NordPass published this list of passwords for the year 2020. The number one password is 123456, which was found to be used by 2,500,000 users. And guess what? It takes less than a second for a hacker to crack that password and to get into the account. Number 2 is not much better. It's 1 through 9. Once again, less than a second to crack that password. Picture 1 actually takes 3 hours. It's a little bit more secure, but still not a very good password. And as you look down through the list here, you can see the top 10. It's not going to take a hacker very long to get into your account if you're using any of these passwords from this list. When you're creating passwords and using passwords, it's important to be aware of several things to make sure that you're creating a strong password. Longer is always better. The longer the password is, the longer it takes a hacker to crack it. And once you get to a certain length, it's impossible for a hacker to gain access to that account through guessing your password. Hackers use a technique called brute force attacks, where they literally have programs that guess passwords. They guess thousands of passwords a second. And if your password is 7 characters long, it takes 0.29 milliseconds for one of those brute force attacks to guess that password. Once you get up to 12 characters, it takes over 2 centuries for that brute force attack to actually guess the right password. It's important when you're creating passwords that you also use upper and lowercase characters, numbers, and symbols. The more variants you use, the more secure that your password is. It's also important that you don't use common words or names. One of the other techniques used by hackers is known as a dictionary attack, where they use common words from a dictionary to guess your password. So if your password is password, picture, your name, your spouse's name, any common place, those are much, much easier for a hacker to gain access to your account. One of the other tips is to not reuse your passwords. Never, never, never reuse your passwords across multiple accounts. Don't use your email password for your bank account and vice versa. Because if one of those accounts is breached, now they know your username, your email address, and your password for other sites as well. Another tip that might help make it a little bit easier to remember your passwords is using a phrase. By using upper, lower characters in the phrase, numbers, and special symbols or other characters, it can make it secure, but also can make it easy to remember. So one example of this would be yellow pickles taste gross 2020 exclamation mark. So it's easy to remember. You can do upper and lower characters, and you can add the year that you created the password at the end, and maybe now you'll remember that password for that website. Even better than coming up with tricks like that to remember passwords would be to use a password manager. A password manager allows you to create random passwords, to store those passwords, and for it to automatically insert those passwords to make it easier for you to gain access to your account. In the future, we'll do a special video on password managers and talk a little bit more about the benefits of those. And finally, I wanted to mention you should always use two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication for any accounts that allow you to set that up. And what that is it's a secondary layer of authentication to prove who you are before you gain access to that account. Some of the more common ways is receiving a text message with a code, or having a special app on your phone that generates a code based on the time of day and is unique to your device to prove who you are to gain access to those accounts. That drastically increases the security of your accounts. I wanted to point out one other thing. I found this fun tool on a website that allows you to test a new password and see how secure it is. And you can even select the year to see how long would it have taken in that year based on the computing power of that time. So let's just put in a very generic password of password. And here we've got the year 2020. You can see, no surprise, less than a millisecond, 0.19 milliseconds, that password could be hacked. If you go all the way back to 1982, it actually would have taken 39 jiffies, which, little known fact, a jiffy is about 10 milliseconds. So this would have been 39 jiffies and 9 milliseconds to hack that account, or that password. If you add an exclamation mark to the end of it, you'll notice it jumps to 20 millennia, 5 centuries, 6 decades, basically a long time. And if you go to the year 2020, it still takes a long time. 1 decade, 3 weeks, 4 days, and some additional time to be able to crack that password. So I use a password manager which allows me to randomly generate passwords. And I wanted to show you one of the benefits of that is the complexity of those passwords. So this was one that I had it automatically generate. It's 33 characters long, upper lowercase with special numbers and characters. And you'll notice infinity. Basically it's going to take more time than we have for a hacker to use a brute force or other attack to gain access to that account through that password. So this tool helps to show the importance of using a complex password with special characters, upper, lowercase, and numbers. Hopefully these tips helped you get on your way to creating better, more secure passwords for your accounts. Tune in next week for our how-to video on email security and how to recognize those threats that come through email. Thank you.